Ryder, let us know when we're live.
Good morning. You are all set and ready to go.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It is March 26th, and this is the finance, the budget meeting of Human and Community Services. We will, let me start with some introductions. We have on our main presenters today, Helen Rubino Turco from Parks and Human Services, and we have on Laura Imsher from our library. We also have helping out, assist as needed on financial issues with Liz Bazinski and Lisa Newton, and our town manager, Rick Ledwith. For council, I see on our committee members, Lisa Lazarus and Jason Wang, also Barry Walters, Tiffany McGinnis, Gail Harris. I don't see anybody. Did I miss anybody? Mayor Sherry Cantor is on as well. So with that, if I'm not missing anybody, we'll turn that over to Rick, and you can start with introductions and give us who you want to lead off today.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. We've had a busy couple of days, haven't we? As we work through the fiscal year 27 budget together. Yesterday, we focused on the community planning and economic development budget. Talked about investments centered on infrastructure planning and certainly road safety. And this morning, we build on that foundation by turning to a different set of services and those that directly reach and impact so many of our residents in their everyday lives. So this portion of the budget spans a wide range of programs and services. We'll start with leisure services, which supports our senior centers and community center, our parks, including Westmore Park. It also includes many recreational opportunities ranging from our camps year-round, our golf courses, swimming, skating. We have Liz Bazinski here from Social Services, whose work is critical in supporting residents facing a variety of challenges. And we saw that the importance of that firsthand during the SNAP benefit issue this past fall, when our entire community stepped up alongside our staff to ensure that residents who were facing food insecurity issues had access to the resources that they needed. So really a moment that, like many that we have throughout the year, that reflect the strength and compassion of our town. And then we'll move to our library system, where we welcome tens of thousands of residents each year across 3 neighborhood libraries, and through a wide range of programs and services, both inside our libraries and you'll hear how they go outside that library as well. We can continue to serve as hubs for learning and connection within our community. So with that as an opening, we will start with Helen Rubino Turco to walk us through leisure services and social services. We'll do our operating budget first, and then we'll do our CIP second, and then we will go to Laura Ermsher at the library after that. So through you, Mr. Chairman, I will turn things over to Helen.
Thank you. Before you do, I'll apologize to Liz for completely blanking on her role, which is so important. So sorry about that. And we do appreciate what you do. And I'm only on my first cup of coffee this morning, so apologize for that. Ms. Rubino Turco, if you could start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winograd. Yes, I'm very delighted to have Liz Bazinski, the Assistant Director of Social Services, join me because of the important work that they do. But as you know, I am director of 2 different departments. So every hour of every day is a little different for me, which helps me want to come to work every day because I love my job. On 13-1 in your budget book is a list of our accomplishments for the last year and what we're looking forward to doing in the coming year. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. One is that we collaborate a lot with community groups. And this means that we don't have to do everything, that we involve our community, we build stewardship. And that's not just with our parks, but with partnering with different organizations that provide programs. But we also seek a lot of grants, and this helps us mitigate the impact on our general fund. So I just wanted to point out some of the work that our community groups do with us, as well as many of the different funds that we draw from and support. So our two departments actually, what we'll be doing is going through 4 different funds, 4 different cost centers that in which we operate. And the first, of course, is the general fund, and you see the summary there on 13-3. And this is where you can see we have 28 full-time people. This is working in both leisure services, Westmore Park, our community development block grant funding, as well as in social services in our general fund. If we go to, so as you can see, the revenue part is very important. It's increased by 11.3%. That's where you'll see some of our miscellaneous revenue. We draw on different funding sources such as the opioid settlement funds, as well as cannabis tax revenue. And that's very important when we get to the social services area. And then our wages and salaries and operating expenses go up by 6.1. This is also a challenging time for us because of wages and salaries. We really have no control over there. Plus, the part-time payroll minimum wage continues to rise, so we do have to meet those needs, as well as many of our contractual relationships increase by contract. And so things like we outsource our youth service bureau to the bridge, for example, or our dial-a-ride contract. Those are all things that we have to, contribute to the increase. So if we do a deeper dive into our first page, which is 13-4, this is a summary of the Leisure Services Management Division. And the big change here that you'll see is that in the information technology section, you'll see it decreasing by about half, 33% actually. What we've decided to do is the management account had been covering all of the credit card fees that every transaction that happens. And some of those transactions are in the general fund and some of them are in the enterprise fund. We used to spend a lot of time splitting them between every single different cost center that we had within the general fund and within the enterprise fund. And we had, for the sake of practicality, had lumped them all into one place so that we didn't have to spend all the time separating the strands of spaghetti. But we've just decided to split it 50-50 between the general fund and the enterprise fund. So this helps mitigate some of the cost that we see in the general fund, and it's split evenly between the two funds now. And then we also invested in a graphic software, design software called Canva. And over the years, as you probably remember, the Leisure Services Program Guide was printed and mailed to 26,000 households in West Hartford, as well as being available at all of our facilities. And over the last 7 or 8 years, we've really switched from that paper product and where people fill out something on a piece of paper and send it in or bring it in. It's now all done electronically. So people don't pay by check now, they pay by credit card. Everyone's used to doing that. But they're also used to seeing it on the screen and picking something from a screen rather than from a piece of paper. So we've saved money in printing, we've saved money in mailing costs, and so those savings really have contributed a lot to the reduction in the support that's required for our a lot of our leisure services programs. But we do have a program called Canva, and that's where you can see that flippable document on our website. It's really easy for people. It mimics having the piece of paper in front of you, that program. And so that is just a change that we changed from one service to another, and this one is much easier to navigate. Also, you'll see there in temporary payroll an allocation. We have shifted a person that was a little bit more in the Leisure Services Fund, but because of her duties in the office, it also covers more of the general fund. This is particularly, for example, the person that runs our auditorium. The auditorium in Town Hall resides in the Leisure Services Fund, but we've now kind of split it because, well, practically more than half of the activities that take place there are general fund activities. They're meetings that the community requires or the Board of Ed uses. And so we really split her time now between the two rather than all in the enterprise fund, just to be fair. Moving forward now to page 13-6, we will get into our case management division. And Liz is here in case we have questions, but we have social workers here as well as prevention activities. And the majority of the increases that you're going to be seeing here are all grant covered. So for example, when you get to the training or professional services and you see those big percentage increases, they are all funded either by opioid settlement funds that are covering the cost of the training for our prevention team, or they are grant funded by either a bequest fund or a grant that we receive from the state prevention council. It's called Amplify now, or from opioid settlement funds. So we're contracting with, for example, in 2027, we're contracting with Rise Up, which is an arts organization that helps with prevention activities, and that's funded by opioid settlement funds. Also this year, we piloted a mini grant program for eligible nonprofits to have, and that is using opioid funding. So in other words, the town doesn't have to do all of the programs. We're asking our community to share in that outreach because we can't do everything, but they also have a reach, tentacles, relationships with other pockets in the community. So we wanted to open up this opportunity for them, and it went very well. So we will be continuing that mini grant program to help utilize this funding source to help our community. As I mentioned earlier, we outsource our Youth Service Bureau to the Bridge Family Center. And we also sometimes we have a pass-through grant where they apply to the state for funding, but it comes to the town and then we forward it to them. So it's sort of an in and out. I did want to mention that last year our social workers provided case management for 500 new individuals. So the volume of work continues to go up. And as I mentioned, all of the prevention activities are grant funded. The opioid budget, helps support some of our outreach program and all of the entire staffing for those activities. Also, we've, seen an increase in relocation costs, and so you'll see that there. I did also want to mention that the Juvenile Review Board is now called the Youth Diversion Team. And this is a wonderful program. We have allocated some grant fundings to this program where youth who make a mistake, can go through a diversion program. It really helps them get back on track. In 13-9, if we move on to community and neighborhood services, this is still sort of under the umbrella of social services. We operate our Dial-A-Ride program, and we also support um, 3 town facilities that are operated by nonprofits. Dial-A-Ride, we will be having a new Dial-A-Ride provider. We've had the same one called CTS for the last 6 years, I believe, 6 or 7 years, 7. And we do anticipate that we will renew with that firm, but we're still in the negotiation process. But about 250 riders avail themselves of the Dial-A-Ride program. They pay an annual fee. Right now it's $65. It's been that way for the last 2 years and will remain $65 a person. And sometimes people contribute above and beyond what their fee is. But we provided almost 11,000 rides in the last fiscal year for people. And this pick them up at their home. They take them to the doctor. They take them to the senior center, all within town. It's a wonderful program, and it really helps seniors stay in their homes, but stay safe because they can't drive. We'll now move on to the Elmwood Community Center. So we have a couple of different programs here: the senior centers, community center, our parks, and our outdoor pools are the other cost areas inside the general fund. Our community center has a high volume of programs, over 6,000 registrations. It covers special needs programs, it covers community programs, it covers the community space that's in there. Many of the increases that you'll see here are revenue, are tied to revenue. So when you see an increase in our temporary payroll, it's tied to revenue. If you see an increase in contractual services, it's where we hire someone to run a program. So it's tied to revenue because we keep 30%, they get 70%, or we keep, so there's a contractual relationship all tied to revenue. And when you look, particularly, I just wanted to point that out on the top of 13-10, where you see program revenue and you see it increasing. We're $91,000 more than where we were, what our adopted is. So you can see that we really maximize that facility. The teen center is there. The elementary programs, summer camps, special needs are all here in the community center. Our 2 senior centers on page 13-13 and 13-16, we'll just quickly go through there. I wanted to highlight one program that has been added that we're going to continue, and that is that we used to have a lunch program that was funded by CRT, and they cut their funding. And our senior center director, Becky Sears, runs both senior centers, and she devised a plan whereby she can utilize some bequest funds that have come to the senior center and use those to help offset the cost of this lunch program. Seniors pay a nominal fee, but the value of what they get is terrific. And it's twice a week at Elmwood Community Center, once a week at the Bishop's Corner branch. And there's the bus service between the two, so if people want to go to all of them, they can. But this is, the time it takes, the part-time payroll is to manage those is covered by this bequest, as well as the actual contract with the providers of the food. So we're pretty excited about highlighting that because it really is a benefit to our community, and it took some creativity to reinstate it, and we're really proud of that. Another program that's super popular is, and more than 500 people attended this Parky Pong program for people with Parkinson's. Again, this is a program that came to us, but it really assists our seniors in staying active and staying healthy. West Hartford residents in our senior center membership are renewed every 3 years up to age 90. So we, as you probably remember, a few years ago, we dropped the fee. So now it's free to be a member of our West Hartford senior centers. And I just want to encourage people to avail themselves of those programs. And the same with the West Hartford Senior Center. You'll notice in both senior centers there's some change in how special events are managed. We haven't changed what we're doing, we're just changing the accounting method of those. So that's what accounts for the under miscellaneous revenue and contributions, sorry, special events and contributions in both of those funds. It's just a change of the way we were accounting for those special events. The Parks and Gyms division is fairly small in the overall scheme of things. It's really the kind of the maintenance, pickleball nets, signage repairs, that kind of thing. What you'll see in my capital budget is that we, in parks and gyms and in outdoor pools, we don't carry a maintenance budget. It's handled through the capital financing, through the capital program, through CNRE, which is a capital non-recurring expense. And that's where we handle things like painting the pools or doing mulching playgrounds or replacing broken things. Generally, those are handled through the capital budgeting rather than through our general fund. One of the big changes for the Parks and Gyms division is a significant drop in contractual services, and that's because we eliminated the hard true tennis courts at Fernridge Park and instead now have the post-tension concrete, which lasts a lifetime. But that really reduces our maintenance because we don't have to do the crack sealing, we don't have to manage sweeping and maintaining that expensive hard true surface. In our outdoor pools division on 13-21, more than 25,000 people paid daily admissions at our outdoor pools last year, in the last fiscal year, which is really significant. These are terrific assets for our community. We do expect it to continue with the opening of Eisenhower Pool in June. Our chemical costs have gone up. We do outsource the management of the outdoor pools, but the employees are West Hartford, are employees of West Hartford. We do outsource it to Health Fitness, which runs our aquatic center, indoor aquatic center. So we don't have an aquatics manager. Most towns have an aquatics manager, or we don't. We outsource that. And it's fairly modest. We also outsource the cleaning of our pool restrooms and locker rooms. So that's also that changed last year, and that's been very well received. Are there any questions about the general fund before we move on to the leisure services fund? Sorry, Ben, you're muted.
Oh, I am. Smart of me. No, thank you for that. And I agree with you. It's a good time to stop for questions because obviously there's a lot going on. So let's open that up. I'll start with committee members. Council Lazarus, do you have any questions?
Good morning. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Turco. I have a question about your fiscal year goals and objectives for 2027 on page 13-2. You have Explore pilot program in partnership with West Hartford Public Schools to expand before and after school options. Do you have any a concept of a plan for that? Um, my Obviously it's forward looking, but I'm curious what impact this might have on the West Hartford Public Schools budget, and curious about any partnerships you might be thinking about for the future.
Certainly, and I can also ask Liz Bazinski to join the conversation as needed. Um, we have been discussing this need that we have recognized in our community, which is that there are waiting lists for before and after school program, before and after school care in some of our public schools. And Jamie Krajewski, who's the director of our Elmwood Community Center, as well as Liz Bazinski, our assistant director of social services, and I have been having various conversations with management at the Board of Education about this problem and how can we help solve it. So we are discussing the possibility of a pilot program in the coming year where we can offer after school care, starting with after school care, potentially at Elmwood Community Center, and the Board of Education would provide busing for a couple of schools that where it makes sense. We're still discussing that, but this would be a program basically that would cover itself because there would be fees paid by families to participate in them. And so we're continuing to explore that, but we have nothing firm to discuss at this time. But it's my understanding that there wouldn't be an impact on the Board of Education budget, that this would basically be run through our enterprise fund as a program, and that would help ease the need that we see in our community.
Thank you. I'm satisfied with that response.
Thank you. Mr. Wang.
Hello, thank you through you, Mr. Chairman, to Ms. Turco. Thank you so much, you guys. Do you know why? So I have several questions. I'll try to not, torture everybody, but why do you know why we're so over above budget? Like when I look at the adopted 25 to 26 budget, I'm looking at on page 13.3. I'm looking at an adopted of 1.26 million, and then we're looking at an estimated of 1.5 million for this past year. And then the projected for this year is higher than the adopted for last year, but still lower than what we actually spent last year.
Mr. Ledwith, would you like me to respond to that?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, certainly. Go ahead, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you. So oftentimes what we find is that, for example, at the Elmwood Community Center, her expenditures and her revenue are higher than what was adopted because she will devise a program that might cost money, but it's tied to revenue that will more than cover it. So what you might also see in social services is that we will have a program that is grant funded. And so the expenditures look like they're going up, but also the revenue is going up to cover those expenditures. So that's what we generally rule of thumb.
But proportionately, for example, when I look at revenues, intergovernmental went up. It was roughly 40,000 higher than adopted. Charges for services was roughly $70,000 higher than adopted. But then expenses was $250,000 higher than adopted.
many of our expenditures, certainly there are wage settlements that happen in between that we have no control over. So that may be part of that.
For
Okay.
you, Mr. Chairman, to Councilor Wang's question, why
Yes.
don't we, it's a good question. And our operating expenses would be separated from our wage expenditures. Why don't we provide a more detailed breakout of those operating expenses from last year to this year? So we can dive down a little bit deeper into that line item, and correspondingly, we'll have that same line item breakout between the revenue piece as well.
Okay.
I can
Thanks.
provide that to you. Thank you.
And because of our budget challenges that we're experiencing, I understand that when just to be clear, like both with the libraries and with leisure services, in my experience, you guys run a really tight ship. So thank you. And I really appreciate that. My family uses your services. So, it's kind of a situation where, I'm bringing these issues up just as a matter of discussion so that we can control what we can control, even though understanding that we're a very small part of the town budget. So this leads to my next question, which is, in terms of revenue, the non-resident to resident differential is very small. It's often $10. It might be, in many cases, like less than 5% difference. Is there some discussion just in terms of like the problems we're seeing in our budget that perhaps it wouldn't be unfair to change that differential or increase that differential?
I'll jump in for a second there. When we've had discussions of fee increases, that does come before this committee. And so I'm not sure it's as much a budget related question as much as it is sort of a policy issue that we decide. And when they bring it to us periodically, as we did a couple months ago, it's really a sort of a policy question for us. I'm not sure we're gonna get a particularly helpful answer sort of in terms of this budget.
Okay. Well, maybe we could put it on a future agenda because you'll have to forgive me since I'm new. I think if I had known
Right.
the budget was going to be in this condition, I would have brought it up a few months ago. I would have brought a lot of things up a few months ago if I had known this was going to happen. So maybe we could put it on a future agenda to discuss it.
Again, it becomes a topic for our committees. We do certainly, when those discussions occur, there is sort of a discussion of the budget impact. Obviously, if you raise rates to a point, there's a part at which you actually lose money, of course. So, and there's often what we're brought is sort of the competitive nature of, certainly golf courses and things like that. But I think, and we should also talk about that in the context, I think, of when we get to the next section of this, which is the funds itself. I think some of that might be helpful in that discussion as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of anything we can do to help our town taxpayers out here. I have more questions, but I don't want to take up all the time. So do you want me, especially because there's
I
more to
think
go.
certainly helpful to put things in writing. Dr. Harris did put some, forward, and I think we got some good responses on some other general questions. I think that is helpful, as opposed to, I think that the purpose of these meetings primarily is for us to help sort of understand what's being presented, because it's obviously a large book and a complicated one. So
Yeah.
I think primarily the focus, certainly ideas are welcome, but I think the focus ought to be making sure we understand this huge amount of material we get given.
Sure.
So if you don't have any questions on that, we'll move on. Like I said, we can also talk about this. Again, there'll be other discussions as well.
Yeah.
Sort of like I said, the main thing is for us to sort of understand as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Of the thinking behind this proposal.
Yeah. Maybe for a future agenda, and we can talk about some of these more policy decisions, as you put it. So that sounds good.
Right. Very good. All right. Thank you. If there, I don't see any.
Actually, through you, Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
did have a question if I'm able to ask it.
Sure.
I had a question. The bridge was brought up, and I was curious if the bridge is actually in this part of the budget, or where the bridge is? And is that a single number, or is that split sort of among different departments?
Certainly, Mr. Winograd, I could answer that question.
I think so.
So the
Yep.
Bridge Family Center, we outsource our youth service bureau to them. So they are under our case management division 13-6. So the Bridge Family Center is in two places in this budget. It's under contractual services, where we have a pass-through grant to the bridge of $23,000. And most of the bridge is under general contributions. This is where our contractual services accounts for their services, as well as the teen center.
Okay, so I guess what I'm asking is, this is just a piece of the bridge, right? The bridge will exist in other parts of the budget as well. This is just your
No,
part of it.
no.
No?
This is where our expenses to the bridge are. If the town government, under the town government, there may be a grant to them. But I don't recall, but
I
this is
think,
where,
through you, Mr. Chairman, I think to Councilor Harris's question, there is a portion in the school district's budget as well. Is that what?
Yeah, that's what I think I'm trying to get at, that there's a much larger component to the bridge that, I just was curious if that would be split up in different parts of either our school budget or town budget,
It's a combination. Yeah.
a combination. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just had one follow-up question.
Sure.
You also mentioned that there were 6,000 registrations at the community center. I believe that's what you said, Ms. Turco. So I was curious, is that just for this part of the budget, or is that a total of the registrations at the community center? Or is it we're just talking about this one part of it?
so the Elmwood Community Center operates in the general fund. So if a program, whether it's a gymnastics program for children or a dance program, it all is considered part of the Elmwood Community Center. So the number of programs that Elmwood runs was almost 6,000 registrations were taken in fiscal 2025. So that includes their summer camps, which are in the general fund, and as well as their year-round programs. So the programs that they have for the toddlers, it's very popular, often sells out immediately. We have other camps and programs that run in the enterprise fund, but they are not generally operated by Elma Community Center. So Elma Community Center is funded by the general fund, but the revenues, that their cost recovery is quite high.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. If there are no other questions at this point, we'll move on to the next part of the presentation. Ms. Rubina Turco.
Can I ask one follow-up to Councilor Harris's question?
Sure.
Okay. Bridge Center, actually, yeah, thank you. You jogged my memory, Councilor Harris. Through you, Mr. Chairman, the Teen Center, $14,000. Are we getting good value for that to the bridge? What does that really cover? That Teen Center is, kind of, I don't know, kind of small.
I guess I'm not quite clear on the question, but Ms. Rubina Turco, if you want to talk about what the Teen Center does?
Yeah, what does the $14,000 buy us?
Sure. I'm going to defer Liz Bazinski. Are you able to answer that question for us? Thank you.
Sure. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me right now, but the cost for the teen center covers the staffing. It's open several days a week for teenagers to come and have recreational activities after school. and they host an open teen night once a month, Friday nights. It's open for kids to come and hang out, play basketball, watch movies, etc. Hundreds of kids come through the teen center every year.
Okay, and the staff, so it's actually staffed whenever it's open? There's somebody there?
Correct. It's staffed by the Bridge, and it's part of the contract we have with them for the Youth Services Bureau.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Can we move? So let's move on. Is Ravina Turker?
Sure. So the next fund that we'll discuss, and I'm sure it'll be quicker, I promise, the Leisure Services Fund. On 13-25, you'll see the historical trends where we've gone from revenues of 3 million to revenues of 6 million. This is where we operate. It's many of our it's intended to run to operate like a business. So we take in revenue and which are intended to cover all costs. We also so it's easiest for me to show this on 13-27. You can see a summary of the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different seven different activities that are operate in the enterprise fund. Community programming is the first. This is where we run our bread and butter camps, the Funtastic Camp, but it's also where we operate something called town-wide recreation. So this is the soccer mix or the soccer shots program. We also will cover basketball clinics or anything that is related to recreation, where we're contracting someone, they're running the program, we take the revenue. We handle the administration of it, and then we split the revenue with the provider based on a per head registration. Our veteran skating rink also operates in this enterprise fund. This year, the estimated for the current year at a loss, and that is due to the closure of our rink, which is scheduled to close on Monday for 4 months for a full renovation. That facility was built in, let's see, it was built in 1968. It was renovated in 2001. And so it is, 26 years later, and 25 years later, we're renovating the refrigeration system. So we're losing out on one lucrative program that we rent, but also, we will still operate our summer camp. They just won't have skating. But they do swimming at our indoor aquatic center, and they've got pickleball up the hill, and they've got a field that they're still going to run our program, but we're losing some revenue there. Rockledge Golf Course and Buena Vista Golf Course also operate in the enterprise fund. And obviously we are disappointed that driving range continues to be delayed, but we are optimistic that it's going to open. It's getting close. So we are experiencing a loss there this year, but there is a plan to recoup that quickly. The Cornerstone Aquatic Center was also built in 1961 and was renovated in 1991, sorry. And we do have some plans to do some renovations there that you'll see in our capital improvement plan. But we outsourced the management of that to a company called Health Fitness, and they've done a remarkable job and have increased programming there and revenue. And we anticipate that they are going to continue in their good management practices. We've already discussed the West Hartford Meeting and Conference Center. That's the auditorium a little bit. Celebrate West Hartford is the last item, and that generally the revenue will exceed what our budget is, but we can't count on it because it might rain. And that definitely impacts the revenue that we get from the rides. So we are conservative there every year because I know I'm very powerful, but I just can't control the rain.
All hail.
So all things considered, that is a summary of the enterprise fund. As I said, we continue to meet the needs of our community, but in a way that in a business format. Obviously, one of the things that we can't control or that needs to be acknowledged here is the subsidy that we provide to our public school students. Every year, it's about $350,000 a year that we provide. Our high school teams, 3 teams play at the rink. We have 4 teams that use Cornerstone Aquatic Center, and we also have 4 teams that practice at Rockledge. So that use is free for our public schools, and we use school grounds during the summer for camps or after school for leisure activities. So that's sort of the trade-off. But I just wanted to say also that that's an important partnership that we have our public schools. Are there any questions about the enterprise fund?
I do not see any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. The third fund that we wanted to discuss briefly is the Community Development Block Grant funding. We receive about $1 million a year from HUD to conduct programs and services and support programs for low and moderate income residents. This is the area where we fund the primary program is our housing rehabilitation program. This is for low-income homeowners to make improvements to their home, helps them stay and keep their home and stay housed. It's an incredible program that has really increased under the leadership of Luan Sika, who is our Community Development Block Grant Manager. So with the funds that we receive, we also 15% can be used for public service. So that helps support our food pantry as well as the Hillcrest Area Neighborhood Outreach Center. It also funds the administration of our programming. 20%, up to 20% can be used for the administration of all of these programs. And we also then, the balance is able to fund public facility improvements. So this might be renovations in a low or moderate income neighborhood. It could be paving or sidewalk work. It could be renovating a park that's in a low mod neighborhood. It could be a program that increases handicapped accessibility because that's eligible for CDBG funding. And then $320,000 is in what we call Fund 14, which is the Housing Rehab Fund. That's on page 13-36. So overall, that's how we split up the approximately 1 million. It's like 990, 960. It changes every year. So we base our budget on the funding that we received the previous year, and then we come back and adjust it slightly, either up or down. Usually around June, you'll see a proposal from us to adjust the Community Development Block Grant budget based on the actual award that we anticipate receiving from HUD. I did want to point out on 13-38 the work that our housing rehab team does. It went in 2021 and 2022, they were doing 2 programs, 4 to 6 programs. We're now doing 22 and programs for regular low-income homeowners, 11 for elderly programs, so a total of 33 ongoing programs, 22 of which were completed. We went from a very small number to a very high number. That's what I wanted to point out. And so we're really maximizing the use of the community development block grant funding. Sometimes it's a grant if it's an elderly person, and sometimes it's a low or no interest loan. Those loans do get paid back to us when they sell the house or they pay off the loan. And so we also get that revenue, which we can then plow back into that housing rehab program.
Great, thank you.
I'm going to just skip over the state housing and community development program because it's fun, because it's quite minor. The Westmore Park Fund, again, operates not with no tax dollars. This is a fund that was established when the town received the property from the Hunter family. They received the property as well as the income from the modest income from 2 different trust funds. So Westmore Park operates with the revenue from those trust funds, from program revenue. And if you've ever tried to register for a program there, you know that they're very popular. And also from donations. So we also write grants, and people do make donations to Westmore Park. We have a new manager. Doug Jackson retired on December 31st, and Christy Page has assumed the management of the Westmore Park. And we're in the process of hiring an assistant park naturalist to fill in an empty position there. And that concludes my budget. Sorry, my apologies to Laura Armshire for the long-winded presentation.
Thank you. I know it's a tough one. It's a lot of different funds. You got a lot of line items there. Did we want to look at the capital projects now?
Yes.
And Laura, we will give you the time you need.
You're not out the hook yet, Howard.
We're not going to neglect our libraries.
Very good. So we'll jump over to our capital improvement plan, which year 1 starts on 17-21. But really, I just want you to jump forward to 17-42, which is where my year 1 programs begin. When we're looking at how do we prioritize, what to do. Obviously, we get input from our community. The youth leagues might ask for things, whether they're a field to be redone or barriers to be put up. We also collaborate with our public works department that oversees the maintenance of all of our fields and parks. And we also take into account any funding sources that we might have access to. So we apply for grants, and sometimes a family foundation or a grant will help fund something that we can then accomplish. So we look first at things where there are safety concerns or code violations or code compliance. We want to fix something before it breaks so that we don't, our facilities are safe. And also then we look at things that will save us money over time. So that was why we instituted probably 10 years ago doing the post-tension concrete, which is a technology that saves money over time. And then finally, we look at programs or improvements that will improve the quality of life for our residents. And these sometimes are harder to put our arms around, but certainly they're things that our community looks for and requests. So the summary of our year one are park and playfield improvements, a spray pad replacement, and a playscape replacement. And then some of the smaller items are funded, as I said, by CNRE, and that's for the outdoor pool and the playground management. So if we start with parks and playfield improvements on 17-42, you'll see here, this is $360,000. That is, we had intended that this was going to be towards the Miracle League replacement of a bridge there, but the Eisenhower Pool project required urgent abatement at the time this past year, so therefore these funds will cover that. And we do anticipate that the Miracle League, the bridge replacement is going to be funded by a substantial donation. So we'll make up the funds that we need to cover that bridge project. The outdoor pool improvements and the park and playscape management, those are the next two items. This is what I mentioned earlier. These are the operating costs for our pools and parks. So things like a pump might break, or in this case, a chemical controller at Kennedy Pool needs to be replaced. We need to purchase guard chairs. We need to paint each pool. Gets painted, and they're on a every 4 years, so they're on a 4-year cycle. And smaller things like crack sealing at Beachland Pool, or plumbing or irrigation repairs that might need to. These are things that we can't anticipate, so we can't really put them in our operating budget, and they're put into this CNRE. For the park and playscape management, we have also, so this is for signs, for fence repairs, pathway paving, but it's also in starting this year, we're setting aside $5,000 a year to contribute towards replanting trees in West Hartford. This is a way of addressing the one of the methods that we're using to address replanting trees in West Hartford that have been lost over the last 11 years. Rock ledge improvements on 17-45, those are funded by user fees. So this is not impacting the general fund or the town funding in any way. These are user fees. We collect $1.50 from every round of golf and 75 cents from every 9 holes. And that goes into a capital project user fee, capital project fee that is makes improvements at the golf course. The next item is a spray pad replacement. So we have a plan to replace the spray pads. They used to be wading pools. I don't know if you remember, those of you who, Liz probably was in a wading pool once. And probably you too, Ben. However, they require a lifeguard, and they also require chlorine and lots of other things. So we removed all of the wading pools. We have zero depth entry pools, zero depth entry into our pools, but instead we replaced them with splash pads. We can open them up earlier. They don't require a lifeguard. But the one at Walcott Park was installed in 2001. So it's a little long in the tooth and needs to be replaced. And this is something, they do have a lifespan of about 20 to 25 years. So that's on schedule there in year one. Cornerstone Aquatic Center, in our previous capital improvement plan, we had an item of like $5 million to replace the recreation pool, the smaller pool. So those of you who have been over to Cornerstone know that there are 3 pools there. There's the old recreation pool that was built in 1961. And there is the lap pool, which was built in 1991. And then there's the spa pool, which is very small. And so those are the 3 bodies. And we had really thought that the pool that was built in 1961 was going to have to get replaced. We had a pool consultant come out and look at it about 5 months ago, and his assessment was that you didn't need to replace the pool, but there's a lot of other stuff that needs to go on down here. And so instead of spending $5 million to replace the pool, if you for less money, you can do an assessment and then chip away at some of the things like gutter replacements or plumbing replacements or pump replacements that will stand us in good shape going forward. And so you will see this request for $50,000 is part of a much larger plan that will chip away. So instead of having to do it all at once, we've sort of spread it out, which I understand the finance team really likes this approach. And so this would be, as I said, a systematic process of assessing and then taking care of those activities that the pool requires. The final item in year 1 is a replacement of the playscape at Fern Park. So we have a playground spreadsheet that details when the playscape was installed, what conditions it's in, whether it's fenced or not, what the surface is like. And we are very careful about inspecting them several times a year. There are playscapes that are designed for ages 2 to 5 and others are 6 to 12. So we pay very close attention to the safety of these because they're used by children. We also use, the mulch. Mulch is much less expensive than a poured in place. We don't have playgrounds that are poured in place generally, unless it's in a handicap area. But so the mulch is essential. So I actually went to Fern Park and looked at this playscape the other day, just to refresh my memory. I've seen it over, but it had been about 6 months since I'd seen it. So these playscapes the UV rays from the sun tends to over time tends to damage the plastic and the rubber that are part of the essence of the playscape. So we also want to replace these before they break. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive when it comes to playground safety. So that's why we have a playscape replacement plan where we do them every other year or every 3rd year, and then we don't have to do them for quite a long time. So they do have a lifespan of about 20 years. Again, we constantly check and to ensure safety of our playscapes. Year 2, I could just quickly run through.
Anything different?
Sorry?
Anything new? Anything
new? Yeah, really, we've just got the basketball courts at the Asylum. Well, we're calling it the Asylum Avenue Park or we also, which doesn't sound great. We would like to call that new thing that we all call the former UConn campus, something like University Park, because it used to be a university and it's next to a university, but we're still kind of searching for just the right term. But we would do some work there as well as at Walcott Park. The Beachland House is on the property of Beachland Park. And that building really needs an assessment. It recently received some significant water damage from the severe cold that happened in January and February. And we would like to do some repairs and actually a renovation of that space into a kind of a cultural center. So we're looking at doing an assessment and a feasibility study there. Rock ledge, outdoor pools, parks and playscape management, those are fairly standard. We also have a playscape, a spray pad there would be for Kennedy Park. That one was installed in 2003. The only other new project besides Cornerstone, which we've already discussed, is pond dredging. So we've had Weston and Sampson doing assessments of 3 different ponds in town, and we have spaced them out. We were going to do one a year, but we've, I think, introduced them one every other year, so that we can clean the ponds and maintain the ponds and restore the habitat that they were intended to do. Many of these ponds are important components of our stormwater management. And that concludes my the first 2 years of the capital improvement plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are obviously running a bit over time, but we're going to push forward. Any questions on the capital improvement? No, I don't see any. Very good. All right. Well, thank you very much. It went a long time, but I don't know how you could have done it much quicker. So, so thank you for that presentation. And let's move on to our library. Rick, do you want to?
Good morning. Thank you all for having me here today. I'm excited to share some information about the library and our budget. I do want to take just a quick minute to note our accomplishments from the last year. I did include the library's annual report on the agenda, so that outlines the work that was done over the last year for our strategic plan. And I did want to give you some numbers because I think that's a good way to tell the story of what's going on at the library. We have over 25,000 card holders. These are active card holders using the library, and that number is up 10% from last year. We had over 325,000 visitors to all 3 of our libraries, and that is up 7% from the previous year. We checked out 771,000 items to people, physical and digital. And when you look at our physical circulation, our books, DVDs, that sort of thing, we are ranked #1 in the entire state for circulation. And we had over 20,000 people attend our programs, and that is up 9% from last year. Our performance measures continue to rise year after year, and I think that this is a good demonstration of the value of our library to our community. We have gotten a lot of requests for more hours, specifically Sundays. I did want to talk about that, but note that increasing Sunday hours is not in the budget that you have. I understand that this is a very challenging budget year, but because we have gotten the questions, I wanted to explain to you what it would cost in addition to the budget that we have proposed. So in order to, well, first I looked at, would we need to expand hours or is there something else that we could cut? And when you look at our attendance, the average number of people per hour per day, there's no real clear time to cut back. There isn't an underperforming day, a time of the week that people aren't using the library, which of course I love, but it's not an easy decision to say, oh, we don't need Wednesday afternoons, we can do Sundays instead. And so in order to expand hours, that would take staffing, and it would cost an additional $140,000. The makeup of that is a full-time position and additional funding in our part-time and overtime budgets. And the reason an additional staff member is necessary is from our capacity standpoint. All of our staff currently have night and weekend shifts already. So adding an additional weekend shift for another 21 weeks a year would require us to pull back on some of the programming we're doing or some of the outreach efforts that we have made a lot of progress on. And that's the way that we are out in the community beyond our walls. So it's a situation where we would have to pick, do we do more Sundays? And if so, we'd have to do less programming without additional staff. And then I also like to look at how we compare to other libraries. I know our capacity, I know what we can do, but I like to see how we are on track with other libraries in the state. And West Hartford ranks number 9 in the number of total visitors to our library. But when I compare our service hours and how long we are open, we rank number 80. So we have more people in with less time for them to use our buildings. And then I looked at the staffing, the number of full-time staff, and we rank 99. So we certainly are not overstaffed. I think we are using our people to the best of our ability. So that's just to give you a little bit of context for why I'm telling you that if we were to expand hours, it would need more people. So as I said, this is not part of the budget, and I know today is about the budget proposal, but since this has been a topic at other committee meetings and I've gotten a lot of questions, I did want you to have that information. So I do want to turn to our budget, which is the first page is 14-1. And this is some more of our highlights and accomplishments and goals, which I'm happy to talk with you about, but I'm going to skip ahead due to time and get right to the numbers. So on 14-2, this is our overall budget. So our total number comes in at just over 4 million. And this is an increase of 2.1%. And the increase is basically just salaries. This is our wage increases for all of our staff, contractual merit increases. And then we do have a small increase to the operating expense line. This is primarily software. We have a lot of software and contracts. These prices have been going up year after year. We have been able to absorb that by cutting other lines. And this year we just kind of hit our max. So we need a few $1,000 more to fund our software increases. I want to turn to 14-3. This is the Administrative Services Division, which is a lot of the not exactly public service. It's our collection, IT, administration, programs, and publicity. But the changes in here you will find in the rest of the division. So I just wanted to point out a few things. Again, this is very small changes. This is basically just funding what we do now next year. But because the percentages are changing, I just wanted to note for you what that means. So our office expenses in the different divisions, they will go up or down because we're consolidating them into this admin line so that we can get some cost savings by doing some more bulk purchasing instead of having individual departments do it. We're consolidating the purchasing. So overall, the supplies will remain the same, but we're consolidating that in the admin department. And then I mentioned the IT number, the software increases. So we do need a little bit more funding for that. Next, I wanted to turn to 14-7. And here's just a few more examples of the changes. So in the overtime line, you will see some changes in the different departments. I'm not asking for any additional funding for overtime. This is just to better align with the staff who are doing the overtime, and that funds the 10 Sundays a year that we are open now, and that's due to the contractual rates for the 2 unions that make up the library staff. So we're not changing our overall ask, it's just aligning it with the departments that are working those hours. And then here's just the example, the office expense in adult services, it looks like it's down 40%, but that's just because we're shifting it to admin to get some better cost savings. And then next, I'm going to jump to 14-7. So that's basically the changes for the library budget. Again, if there's anything you want me to explain or any questions, I will absolutely go into that. But I do want to explain to you the library fund. So this is 14-7 and 14-8. So this is external funding that we get to support library operations. Primarily, it is our state funding. I had spoken to you at a previous meeting about how there were potential cuts to the governor's budget, and we're still waiting to see how that plays out in the state, but this is where the money lands. So we tend to get between $10,000 to $15,000 a year, and this is for when we loan materials to residents of other towns. There's a formula that the state library calculates for how many of our residents use other libraries, and then how many
I'm sorry,
residents we serve.
Laura, can I just
Oh, yeah.
stop you for a second? What page are you on? I lost you for
14-17 and
17.
14-18.
Okay, there you go. I heard it wrong. Thank you.
Oh, I might have said it wrong. I'm sorry.
No, I heard 7 and I went back and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. 17. Thank you.
So this is the funding to kind of pay us back for how we may serve other residents in other towns. The number is higher because this also includes the grant we got this year from CEN to upgrade our Wi-Fi systems. So that is why you might see a higher estimate, and we don't have the amount for FY27 yet. That comes to us in the spring. The state will tell us how much. So just judging on past years, I'm guessing it's between $10,000 and $15,000 that we'll get from the state for this. If you are looking in detail, you might see some other lines on here where charges for copies. We used to put the revenue we took in from our copiers, like when people pay 10 cents a page to print, we've moved that into our general fund where we charge for copies, but then we use that money to pay for toner. So that moved a couple of years ago, but that's why you might see those lines still in here. So I know that was very fast. If you have any questions, if there's any numbers you want me to explain to you more, I'm very happy to do that.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Wang.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Library Director Ermsher. Thank you so much. So regarding the Sunday hours, you mentioned that it will cost about $141,000 to provide Sundays. Does that mean for the remaining like 46 weeks of the year? How many weeks are you talking about for that 141,000?
Yeah, through you, Chairman. Thank you for that question. And I'm sorry I wasn't more specific. So that would fund Sundays from September to May. So that's 31 total Sundays.
Okay.
Taking out the Sundays before a Monday holiday. So it's 31 Sundays. We right now have funding in the budget for 10. So the additional 140,000 would cover 21 additional Sundays.
Okay. So then when I look in the budget, like you said, the overtime helps cover the Sundays, but the overtime number is very small. It's a few $1,000s. So our existing 10 Sundays, that can't be the only amount that it costs. I mean, I can extrapolate the math, but do you have any general idea of how much our existing 10 Sundays costs?
I can break it down a little more for you, through you, Chairman. I'll get to your last question in a minute, but the additional ask for the additional 21 Sundays, it is $19,000 for part-time staff, $14,000 for overtime, and then the remainder is the funding for the position and the benefits for the full-time position. So those are the three categories.
An extra staff member is the jump in cost.
That's the majority of the cost, is the additional full-time staff member.
Okay, and right now with the 10, we're doing it with our existing staff. We didn't have to hire extra to cover the 10.
Correct. And we used to, like a decade ago, we used to be open Sundays, September to May, through various budget cuts. We have pulled back over time, along with other, like we used to have a lot more staff. So a long time ago, we did have a lot more Sundays. But certainly since I've been here, and certainly for the last, I think at least 8 years, we have not had the robust Sundays. Did I answer everything?
It's kind of painful, but yes.
Thank you.
Have to cut service like that.
Yes, absolutely. Rick, did you want? I see your question.
I had a question.
Yeah, but Rick, did Rick want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Chairman, just as a follow-up to Councilor Wang's question. And We are holding a committee of the whole meeting on April 14th. And Laura and I have been talking about the Sunday hours, and there may be a way. We need to get a little creative to do this in a budget neutral way by utilizing some other revenues. So in the big picture of things, I think the committee of the whole meeting, that's one of the options among many that we will discuss at that meeting. And this may be something that the council can consider as we move forward and in a cost neutral way. So we'll speak more about that in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ledwith. Lazarus.
Thank you, Chairman Winograd. So I kind of have a statement and a question. You can comment on both or either. It's my, I'm new to this also, like many others, but it's my understanding that, trying to get control of the temporary payroll and overtime is a key factor in just the fiscal strength of the town. So if you want, you can comment on the temporary payroll, which might seem minimal, but with the potential of overtime or any other changes, I could see that as a variable cost that could cause some financial burden to the overall budget for the town. So any insights on how you plan to manage that temporary payroll cost would be helpful. And also seeing ADA expenditures, do you foresee any rises in that in the future? Because accessibility is very huge. We have an aging population. We've got multiple generations living and using our services. So I imagine that's something that's going to explode over time, especially if we're doing accessibility studies. And lastly, what do you see as the major cost drivers for the library?
Through you, Chairman, those are excellent questions. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk more about that. So our temporary payroll is very planned and scheduled. The temporary staff is how we run the library. As I understand it, from potentially 2 decades ago, when the town was facing very difficult financial situations, there was a huge shift from the number of full-time staff to the number of part-time staff. So we used to have a lot more full-time staff, and that was picked up by part-time staff. So I cannot operate the library without the part-time staff. If we look to reduce that budget line or the number of part-time staff, we would have to cut hours or services. It is not unpredictable. It is very scheduled. So this is not an area that is like a mid-year liability for us, unless I had like 15 people quit or something. So like, this is not something where all of a sudden we're like, oh no, like I have the fortune of not having the unpredictability of public works or something like that. So I can plan for this budget. I know where it's going, what we're going to staff. So you won't find at the end of the year, all of a sudden this budget increased more than you expected. But to get a handle on it or to reduce it in some way means that we are cutting something from the library. We're cutting our hours. We're cutting. A lot of times we have part-time staff covering our desks so that our full-time staff can run programs so that they can be outside the library or doing other things in the library. So cuts to the temporary payroll mean cuts to services. The ADA expenditures, this budget line is very specific in that we use it for sign language interpreters, and that is upon request. And it goes kind of up and down when we get those requests and the programs we provide. So we did ask for an increase this year because we got a few requests, and so we're trying to anticipate what that might look like next year. Our overall approach to accessibility, we try to work into other things. So if there was like a design element in our website that we needed for more ADA accessibility, that would be paid for through the website services. So that budget line is just a very specific thing. It doesn't capture our approach to accessibility. And then I think the major challenge from my budget is that it is almost all people. you know, the people are the heart of the library, and we run the programs and services. But when we are trying to look at if there's anywhere that we can cut or do things differently, I'm a little stuck because I have to pay the people, and they deserve the best money, you know, that they can get. That's the challenge of my service organization, that it is people run and people led. And so when we are trying to get creative with things, we have a very limited pool of money that we can do. So then we turn to what are other opportunities, what are, and Helen talked about this a little bit, what are collaborations with other agencies where we can use our strengths and maybe someone else can help incorporate or bring some other things to the table. We look at any sort of outside funding, any grants that we might be eligible for. So we try to think beyond what the town is able to support.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? I do not hear anything. Mr. Wang.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Library Director Ermshire. Just following up on your statement, Laura, in my opinion, looking, you know, and I'm really pretty panicked about the whole town budget, but in my opinion, the library looks really lean. When I look, and then when I hear about like, oh, we had to, you know, we used to have Sunday hours and we had to cut it. And then how much does a Sunday cost? Not that much, you know, that really kind of, it makes it, it puts us and you in a very difficult position, because on one hand, we don't want to, you know, just kind of blame externalities and say, well, there's nothing we can do. But on the other hand, we really are very lean. I mean, just yesterday, you know, we heard about like a $1.4 million overage in like our infrastructure redesign, like poof, $1.4 million gone. And so in the library side, you know, it really is a struggle. I think probably a lot of other people are thinking about the same things, which is that we want to help the town budget. But you guys are, when I look at the number of FTEs that you guys, it's like a few, you know, so the amount of service that you guys provide is so outsized to the amount of funding that you receive. And I just want to acknowledge that this is a very difficult situation because, you know, again, we don't want to say there's nothing that can be done, but it is true that I just don't see a lot of fat in the library budget. So I just want to verbalize what I think probably a lot of other people are thinking, you know, like the you know, the money that is invested in the library seems you get a real bang for your buck. Whereas, you know, not that we don't get bang for a buck elsewhere in the budget, but elsewhere in the budget, sometimes the money just, again, is poof, a couple million gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's accurate, but to your point, I certainly agree with you that the library runs itself very well, and it is a great service to our town, and we all appreciate a budget that comes in without big numbers for expansion. And yes, incredibly valuable service to our whole community. So with that, I think we have, am I missing anything? Have we completed the presentations, Mr. Ledwith?
That is everything, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Right. So without objection, we'll adjourn the meeting. Any objections? I see none, because if there are any, you got to stay, and the rest of us are going to leave. So thank you all very much for the presentation. Very appreciated, and thank you all for the patience of getting through. Only a 50% overrun on our time, which is, for a budget meeting of this complexity, that is not bad. So again, thank you all, and we'll all be seeing each other very soon. And thank everybody who stuck through this and for everybody's great questions. So thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.